Hello, everyone, and welcome to Functional Fertility, the podcast designed to demystify your hormones, up-level your lifestyle, and supercharge your fertility potential. I'm your host, Dr. Kalea Wattles, and today's episode is all about sustainability in the way we think, the care we give to ourselves, and the way our behaviors support the dreams we have for our lives. Joining me today is my friend, Elyse Wagner. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She is a mom, author, founder of a Nourished Life and a Nourished Business Academy, and co-founder of the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. With a background in clinical health psychology and holistic nutrition, Elyse blends science, soul, and self-care to empower women and health coaches to create sustainable, holistic transformations. Her work sparks a ripple effect of health and joy, helping others step into their fullest potential and build lives and businesses they truly love. I am so excited for today's episode. Welcome to the show, Elyse.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super grateful to be here.
It's so fun. I think our listeners need to know that we share an alma mater and we're walking the halls of Bastyr University at the same time. And I just think that's so fun, our shared origin story in the forest in Seattle.
I do too. I love it. And if for those of you who are not familiar with Bastyr, it is probably one of the most magical schools, places on earth. If you get a chance to go there, it's in Kenmore, Washington. The school is like literally on a national forest.
Yeah, it really is. Anyone who they haven't been to the Seattle area, but they've seen the movie Twilight. I always say it's Twilight vibes all the time, but that's where you get to go to school.
Yes. And learn about the herbal medicine making class. I still have my binder and using Chandra. Oh my gosh, yes. All these amazing memories. Really beautiful space.
Such a magical place. And now we both are out here in the world doing the work that we love. And it's been so fun for me to see you step into this version of yourself where you're talking about mindset so often. And that's something that I think is really valuable and maybe missing from a lot of topics when we're talking about fertility. So I'm really excited to pick your brain a little bit today about mindset for fertility and pregnancy and motherhood, all of these areas that we have both walked through, and just see how can we support ourselves kind of in that mental, emotional, spiritual realm as we enter these new chapters of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you hit on a point is there is a piece that's missing. A lot of us have not really been taught how to nurture or nourish that part of ourselves growing up. Society certainly doesn't really teach us. I think they teach us the antithesis of that. Or they say one thing and then expect another, right? And then a lot of our schooling doesn't really teach us that either. So where do we really get that from? And then how do we pass that on to our next generation too, which is something I'm very passionate about. We both have daughters and 7-year-olds. And so it's really important, especially in these formative years, to start solidifying that mindset, those belief systems.
Well, you're doing a great job as an educator on this topic, and I love following your social media because when you know someone and then they're showing up on social media, you can tell that's them. That's their real, authentic voice. So I look at your social media and I'm like, that is really her showing up and writing these things. And it's just a really beautiful expression of the work that you do. And you had a post recently, and I read it a couple times. I wrote it on a sticky note, actually, because I wanted to remember it for when we talked. And you said, changing behaviors isn't just about breaking habits. It's about unraveling and rewriting the deep-rooted beliefs and values that shaped those habits in the first place.
Yes.
Woo!
Yes.
Wow. So loaded.
One more time. Can you say that one more time for the people in the back?
Yes.
And I'm pulling something up to share with you because I actually have a little model that I want to share. So as you say that, I'm going to try and pull this up.
Okay, here we go. Changing behaviors isn't just about breaking habits. It's about unraveling and rewriting the deep-rooted beliefs and values that shaped those habits in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So can I share something on my phone here? I think you can. So I don't know if your listeners familiar with functional medicine, but perhaps a lot of them are.
Yep.
So it's the
Many are.
medicine of why and getting to the root cause. And since I have a background in that, not as much as you do, but in functional medicine, but more in the nutrition, holistic nutrition, and clinical health psychology, which is really where health coaching and behavior change has stemmed from. Throughout like my experience, personal and professional, I started to create my own model. And so it's more of like a root cause approach to internal well-being. So I'm going to share this with you. We can
Please
walk us all
do.
through it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So hopefully this makes sense. So you see on the screen a beautiful flower,
Hmm.
which is typically what we see. So it represents the results. And a lot of the times, your clients they come to you with a very specific end result. This is what I want. This is the end goal.
Yep.
And what I see happening in all areas of quote unquote medicine and even psychology and nutrition is that we start to work on we want to go towards the results, but we work a lot on the behaviors
Hmm. Yep.
and the things that you can do, so you'll hear it as like, do this, don't do that, for a lot. Maybe not you, because I know you go
I
to a
mean, I
deep.
try, but it's easy to fall into that.
It is.
Don't
Well, it's
do
easy to
that.
go to like, the protocol and like, okay, this is what we're going to do and we're going to follow this and it's stepwise process and yeah. And yet that to me is like the tip of the iceberg because there's so much underneath the surface that's going on for us as human beings. We're living, breathing, energetic beings that are constantly in motion and in change. And when we look at emotion, the breakdown of that word is actually energy in motion, emotion. And so I see a lot in the world, and why I'm so fascinated with it, and why I studied it is that there's more to it. And so we have to go to take a little bit more of a root cause approach. So we have to go downstream, which is
Yep.
down this beautiful flower and the stem to what is called the feelings and the needs. And, this is where our emotions come in. And a lot of people stop there. We're not the best at feeling our feelings because we weren't really taught how to do that. How many times have you been told or taught, stop crying or just, you don't need to feel that. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way, right?
I was just going to say, not only are we taught we don't have the language to describe our feelings, we're actually taught to just leave it alone and bury that deep down inside.
Right. As if they don't matter.
Yeah.
And I really want to shift that paradigm, and they actually do matter. I think they're one of the wonderful keys to embrace and embody and to use as little like check light indicators, as if you were driving on a car and your little check engine light came on. Typically, we really feel those negative feelings of like shame or guilt or anger or sadness. And so of course, they can be addressed in like therapy and things like that. But and health coaching, I think, can do a great job at this as well. But the other piece of that is the needs, really understanding what you truly need. And I think, and believe this wholeheartedly, is that 99% of our needs we can meet ourselves. It's just that 1%. And then how do we ask for that and get our needs met? But then we go even more upstream because what precedes the feelings and the needs are actually our thoughts and what we think every single day. And our thoughts are really just a lot of it is automatic thought loops that we've created over and over and over again, a lot of the times from experiences that we've had, whether it's a couple days ago, most of the experiences, was from childhood and things like that. And we go upstream to the belief systems. But the belief systems are a huge core of that, but we have to go even further, which is where I love to do and start all my work, is values. And so that's at the root of everything, is getting to the deep-seated values that most of the time have been really almost like generationally handed down to us. Very traditional things that we have never quite, how how do I say it, like stood up against and said, oh,
Ah,
it doesn't actually really serve me anymore. Like it served me, it got me here, grateful for that. Now I need to, I need to value something else. And what does that look like in real life? Can I share a story?
please. We love a storytelling moment here.
And then I'll be quiet because I feel like I'm talking a lot.
Perfect.
But there was before starting the coaching academy and what I'm doing now, when I had just moved back from Seattle, and I was telling you this earlier, I had moved back and none of my licensures had transferred over. So certification in nutrition, license as a mental health counselor. So what was I to do? Well, I just thought, okay, I'll stay within scope of practice and I'm not going to treat or diagnose or any of that, but I'm going to coach people. So there was this one gal I was coaching and she really wanted to get pregnant. She really wanted, she was a hairdresser and so and she ate a lot of fast food, a lot of McDonald's, so no judgment there, right? So, but I walked into her house and, we started chatting and talking and asking about all the different things, what she does for a living. So hairdresser around a lot of toxic chemicals, what she's eating, consuming a lot of processed foods and things like that. And then I went into her mindset, and she was actually doing IVF at the time. She could not get pregnant, and she's getting very frustrated, feeling very deflated, kind of the what's wrong with me? And there we go. We have the thought, we have almost like a belief system starting to form there too. And we had a really just honest, open conversation, non-judgmental, and said, let's look at what you really value in your life and where you want to go, and let's match it up with your goals. We were able to see that there was a disconnect, and she wasn't really putting a lot of emphasis and valuing her health and her overall well-being. And so when we were able to start shifting some of the values and putting that as a priority, and that looked like starting to, I think I taught her how to make her own bone broth. I taught her how to make, easy salads and things that she could take to work so she wasn't rushing off to McDonald's or anything. And she really started putting herself, shifting over Diet Coke to water, or iced tea or something like that. But anyways, long story short, she, as soon as she took the self leadership and like really owned that for herself, it didn't happen like right away, but she started eating differently, and then because she was feeling better, she could start moving her body a little bit more. And then she started feeling better, more confident. And so we can see that the habits started to change, but so did the belief systems change, but so did the values. She ended up getting pregnant. She had triplets, which was amazing. So that's, a beautiful story, but, shifting over that mindset too was part of it as well, because it was deeply ingrained with her family, that she was very close to. So yeah.
Well, so excited for her and her triplets that she has.
Now they're like 7, 8, or I don't know, they're a little bit older. Yeah. But it's
We
beautiful.
hear these stories and people will say, I know you've heard this a million times, like, it's so hard for me to maintain these things. I know I should eat healthy or exercise or whatever, but it's so hard for me to maintain this. And I think oftentimes it's because we're saying, okay, just change the behavior, but we're not digging deep at all those other things that you talked about that shaped why we behave that way in the first place. How did you grow up? How did your family behave? What are your beliefs and your values? And if we don't do that deep inner work, which, let's be honest, that's the hardest part. It can be painful, it can be scary, you have to be vulnerable, but that's how we make sustainable behavior change, right?
Vulnerability is connection. When you, and that's why, if you do follow on social or you see me, I mean, I'm going to be really honest and vulnerable because I want to lead that way to make it okay for others to do the same. And I think it's really important even for us as, educators and providers and practitioners, because, a lot of us are struggling with things too. I struggle with my own health issues. I struggle with limiting beliefs. I struggle with shifting my values, because here's the thing, just like, in nutrition and lifestyle nutrition, things change from when you're a baby to when you're in your teens to when you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s, and what your needs change. Your values change too as your life evolves. And so it's a great opportunity to just kind of be on pulse and have an awareness of like what are my values. And I reassess my values like definitely every year, if not every 6 months. In
Yeah.
fact, when you messaged me about being on the podcast, it was I think it was like January 31st or something. And I was like, I'm sitting here having a fire. I'm chilling with my daughter because my husband was in Canada, and I'm doing vision boarding and I'm writing my values for the
Yeah.
year.
Well, I think I messaged you and said, hey, I'm doing my vision board for the podcast this year, and I need to have you on the show. And you were like, wait, I'm doing my vision board right now as we speak
Yes,
too.
totally. Yes, I love that. It was so serendipitous.
Hey everyone, it's time for this week's Fertility Supplement Spotlight, brought to you by Needed. If you're doing your life audit and one of your wishes is a pregnancy in the next year, there is no better time to start a top-notch prenatal vitamin. Right now, get that prenatal on board. Needed is my go-to for perinatal supplements. They prioritize ingredients I trust, and they develop each product with real moms and moms-to-be in mind. I personally take the prenatal vitamins, egg quality support, CoQ10, and prenatal omega-3s, and I love every one of them. But a standout is their prenatal multi. It's available in both capsules and a delicious vanilla powder. This powder is a game changer for anyone dealing with nausea or you're just tired of taking pills. Needed isn't just beloved by Functional Fertility. It's also recommended by over 6,000 doctors, midwives, doulas, and nutritionists. And it's the first perinatal nutrition company to be B Corp and climate neutral certified. If you're ready to elevate your prenatal wellness routine, head over to thisisneeded.com and use code FunctionalFertility for 20% off your first month of products. That's thisisneeded.com and use code FunctionalFertility, all one word, for 20% off your first month of products. All of these things that we're talking about with behavior change and our values,
Mhm.
I have to ask you
Yeah.
about control, because a lot of my patients, especially when they're on their fertility journey, they're doing a lot of the right things, right? They're moving their body, they are eating, and they feel like their health or the outcomes are still so out of their control. And I think this is something I've observed in myself. Anytime something feels out of control, I will like hyperfixate on the things that I can control to just give me some sense of security. But ultimately, I think that that probably isn't serving many of us.
Sure.
I mean, do you have any advice about the mindset shift that we might be able to embrace to help us feel more empowered when we get obsessed with this concept of control?
Yeah, so it's actually really a humbling topic because you could look at it a couple different ways through a couple different lenses. One lens is like, well, what is it within my control? And that might work for one person. And I love taking a very client-centered approach and like, what's going to work for you? Because, I always say, like, I'm not here to tell you who to be, what to do, where to go. I mean, I am all about like self-leadership. And really, I believe that the answers are within us. So I can give you some ideas and some thoughts, but at the end of the day, I'm going to lovingly transfer that ownership over to you and say, what is it that you need? You're telling me you're feeling out of control or that you need to be in control. So I'm hearing like a need. There's a deeper need that needs to be met. So then the
Yeah.
question comes, well, what is it that you need? And saying it, and you can ask yourself this, or as a provider, you can ask this, what do you think you need? And then just calm, quiet for a moment, because those answers that are within us, they don't talk like they do, but like we're, bantering back and forth. They are like little quiet whispers that bubble up to the surface. And so it's a great question to start asking yourself and seeing what it comes up. Maybe you need comfort. Maybe you need quiet. Maybe you need connection and love. Maybe you do need just to feel in control of something because everything else in your world totally feels out of control. And you just need to like share that with someone and have them hear you and understand you. And so I think that there's not like a one size fits all approach. It's really just like, what is it that you need? And then lovingly just passing the ball back and creating that safe space so that we can dig in and dig deeper and see what's
Yeah.
coming up for us.
Absolutely. I'm like following all these different roads. I've seen this conversation go down, and sometimes patients will tell me, I just need more information. So I feel like I can make more empowered decisions. Okay, so information, that's what you're needing. Or I've heard people say, I actually need my partner to help me in the decision making so that I don't feel the burden of the control. Very well designed thought process you have here of figuring out, okay, this is what's happening, but what's the need beneath it, which sometimes if you're not trained is hard to get to.
Yes, right. And then it's like that next step, it's like these little steps. It's like, okay, we figured out the need, what you need. So like if it was the idea or the example of I need my partner to help me with this, it's like, okay, now we've done this. We've kind of gone down into the, figure out what the problem is, what the issue is, and we're going to kind of come back up so you can keep moving forward. And that's one of my little mantras, KMF, keep moving forward. But because we want the worst place to be sometimes is just in that stuck place, you
Stats.
know? Yeah, and that can be so frustrating. But one of the things you can ask yourself is like, okay, um, well, do you think or do you feel like you're going to be able to have this conversation with your husband? What would you say? And so even maybe doing a little bit of role playing, or you can role play by yourself, and asking. And I follow the work of, oh, now I'm going to forget his name. I know he's up here. Let me see if I can see it really quick.
On your
Uh,
bookshelf.
it's nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication. So it's just you can use this in work, you can use this in your relationships, but it's just saying, hey, and it's being honest and vulnerable and saying, I am feeling this way. So you're taking the ownership. I need this. Can you help me do this? And being very specific with the ask, and then letting it go and allowing that other person to step in and show up and say either yes, I can help you, or no, I can't. And if the answer is no, okay, then we have to just use our creativity and just find another solution. There's always another way. There's always another way.
It feels like huge progress to me, though, to even be able to put it to words of what you need in the first place. Like that's
That is
step one,
that
and
is
then proposing
progress.
it is another thing.
Yeah.
But
Like let's celebrate first the fact of like you can even identify your feelings, because there's 34,000 feelings. There's not just like the 8 or 9 that we typically use in everyday language. Or identify your needs. I mean, those are huge, huge wins to celebrate. And then to be able to articulate that back, I mean, that's a huge skill in and of itself. It's huge. I wish every single provider and practitioner in the world, had this language for this and could hold the safe space too for it.
it just occurred to me that many of us are, I don't want to say forced, we're prompted. We're prompted to learn these skills when we're in crisis, right? And wouldn't it be just delightful if we all had these skills ahead of time to help us navigate when things come up so that we weren't panic learning skills when things were really bad?
Yeah, it would be wonderful to be in that space when you were in a parasympathetic, calm, rest, digest mode and could really receive it.
Yeah.
Could really receive it. Yeah. So, but you could do this in your everyday life. You really can. You can get every single morning. I get up in the morning, I look at myself in the mirror, I say, good morning, Elyse, I love you.
Mhm.
What good can I do for you today? What do you need? And I just wait and I trust that my body is my best friend. It's been with me the longest. It's been with you the longest.
Yes.
And it's going to tell you what it needs. It might take a little bit of some time, but it's going to tell you, I need rest. I need a nap. I need some water. I need you to actually
Try
like go
all
to
of
the
those.
bathroom when I tell you I have to go to the bathroom. All
Yeah.
right. How many
Well,
times have we been
thank
there?
you for giving us permission that it can be simple. It doesn't have to be, you have to go out and apply to a doctorate program today. It could be drink water, you dehydrated girl.
Yeah, I think we really overcomplicate things in the medical and psychological world. And we just need to simplify to amplify.
Let's
Yeah.
talk logistics for someone who this is new to them. This art of communication with themselves is new. Is this, I mean, I'm really asking the specific questions now. Are you just doing this in your mind? Are you journaling it? Are you writing it down? Is there talk me through the actual how to.
That actual how to like figure out your needs and your
Yeah,
all of
I
that,
mean,
your
I think
feelings and your
there's
values.
probably all kinds of skills, and maybe it's,
Yeah.
some people vision board and some people journal, but if you're new to all of this, are there a couple places where you recommend people start just to get that
Started.
dialogue with themselves going?
Yeah, well, I think one of the easiest places to start is it's always, it's with you, right? You're always with yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we're with this thing.
For better
Um,
or for worse, we're always with ourselves, yes,
right,
and our phone.
right. And so you can start right there and doing what I even just, there's a million and one ways that you can do it, right? But even just starting with that good morning and like greeting yourself in a loving way. What do we usually do that? I don't know. I mean, I've had to teach myself to do that. It used to be oh God, it's another day, feet
Uh,
on the floor. And now it's like, thank you. Thank
mhm.
you. I get to be here today and share this beautiful message. And what do I need today? Because here's the thing too, and as moms and women, and a lot of times we're doing a lot of the things for everyone else. It's like this paradigm, right? And this pyramid of we just give away energy to everyone else. But I want to encourage you and give you a permission slip if you need it. You can give yourself that too. Flip the paradigm and put yourself first. And you can just do that really simply by what is it that I need first thing in the morning? And it's maybe just like, I just need to lay here in peace and calm. I need to read a little bit of an inspirational message or a book. I need to like do some, downward dog, some poses to wake my body up. What is it that you need? And that I think is one of the very first steps that you can do to start building this inner relationship and this inner connection with yourself.
Yeah, these
Mhm.
little practices, and it doesn't have to be glamorous, I will say.
No, and
I
it's free.
find
It's free. It
it's
takes
free.
and
Yeah.
very little time. We don't need all this time or a half day or any of
No,
that.
you don't
But
need all this.
consistency. I talk about like we have these vitamins and nutrients, the micros, the macros, and nutrition. And I've applied that concept to leadership, and we have these nutrients of leadership. So I talk about vitamin C and D. Vitamin C is consistency, vitamin D is discipline, and
Yes.
in the non-punishment way. Just having the consistency to just do this one little thing every single day, and soon it will become a habit and it'll just be part of your daily lifestyle, and it's just you asking and then you responding, and it's this nice dynamic dance in this art. And you can journal too. You can journal with yourself and ask yourself like, gosh, what I did it this morning. I was pretty upset with my husband this morning because he had completely went through his alarm, slept through his alarm. So I felt like a mom to not just a daughter, but
Yep.
a husband too. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't lose it, but I did when he left, when everyone left, I'm like, okay, I need a minute.
Journal.
And I journaled and I wrote down and I alchemized those feelings because a lot of the feelings that we have can actually, when we don't express them, we suppress them. And then when we suppress them, they can actually get kind of caught up, right? It's that emotion, that energy and motion gets caught up in our body. The issues stay in the tissues. I'm sure you all heard that.
And then
And
probably start changing our behaviors too, right? Because now it's like all that underlying stuff we talked about.
yeah, and you've got those emotions and even the thoughts that we think, our brain or our gut and our brain axis is connected, so the thoughts we're thinking is creating stress in the microbiome and firing off our little adrenals. And so you can alchemize that, by writing that down and starting to shift, what is it, what did I need in that moment, or what do I need to do differently here? And so that can be supportive for you.
Yep. You
But a lot
mentioned
of this is a practice.
you
So yeah.
a practice, which can we just underscore that? A practice, which means it maybe takes time and you find your style. And
Mhm.
you talked about how you will say thank you to yourself. And so I thought this is the perfect time. We got to talk about a gratitude practice,
Totally.
right? Because for me, I think I heard about a gratitude practice for a long time and was like, great, I'm thankful. Okay, I'm thankful. Like, I don't know what to say about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But after really, I mean, the last maybe 5 years or so, having a really consistent gratitude practice, I can honestly say it rewires your brain to focus on the things that are working out for you.
Absolutely.
And there was a long time I had, just like you said, in my notes app on my iPhone, I
Mhm.
had a note and it said, evidence that things are working for me. And it was just every day I would write down these things, even like labs came in really fast that I ordered, or I had my favorite breakfast. It didn't have to be anything groundbreaking. It was just all of these little pieces of evidence that things were working in my favor. And I was so grateful for that. And I realized over time I was focusing on those things more and focusing less on the things that weren't working out for me. And overall, I was just feeling so much better.
Yes, like more buoyed up. Yeah. And two things there. So, like, one, I call those the green light synchronicities. And why is that happening? It's because you're focusing, and what you focus on expands. And so, the more, goodness and things that you're grateful for that you want to happen, you're going to keep getting those. And so, can we go a little like, I hate to say woo woo, because it's not woo woo, but it's, the universe, right?
Oh, there. Please, we go there here on the show.
So the universe responds to really what is within us. And I use this Wayne Dyer, he used this really great story. Maybe it's like a metaphor. I don't know what it is, but he talked about like when you squeeze an orange, what comes out?
Orange
It's
juice,
not
right?
right. It's not mango juice. It's not pineapple juice, unless, maybe it is. I don't know, in some favorite country, but it's typically orange juice. And so the whole connection there is like when we squeeze ourselves, when something happens, right, that kind of tests us.
It's under pressure.
Yeah. What comes out of us
Mm.
is out. Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it gratitude? And even the things that don't work out for us, I think we can build a practice and say, okay, thanks. Because
Mhm.
something even more appropriate or more better for me is coming my way. And that could be a blessing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love gratitude. I mean, there's so much amazing research on it. And that is another free practice. It's your well-being is available to you everywhere. And that's one area that you can start to cultivate that. And it depends the mood I'm feeling in. Sometimes I'll do like a walking gratitude in the forest. And I'll be very grateful for like the tiniest little things. Like I'm so grateful for my toes and my ankles and the muscles that are in my calves that are helping me to like stand up and walk. Or I'll do a mindful eating gratitude where I'm just like so mindful and grateful for the taste, the smells, the fact that I can smell, that I can see these beautiful colors on some people don't have the ability to do that. Um, Sometimes one of the areas that I've had trouble with since I was a little girl, and I shouldn't say trouble, it just, what can I say? It's never been what I would want it to be, and I'm okay with that now, but I've always wanted like a flat stomach. Never had it. It ain't happening. I get it. Unless I really want to like work, and run like 6 miles a day. Not happening. Hello. So one of the practices that I was doing was really putting my hand on my stomach and showing it, not just the superficial or like the outer layer of it, but like all the things that are going on inside.
Yeah.
The trillions of cells that are communicating every single day, the fact that my body can take this orange, we'll stay with the orange, and then digest that and absorb those nutrients and take that to all the different compartments and areas it needs to be to build my body to what. I mean, so we can get granular or we can, stay really macro. It works on all levels. Yeah.
I like that you're dynamic and you're changing it up based on what you're in the mood for, because I'm not always in the mood to sit there and do a 30-minute gratitude journaling
Yeah.
exercise, right? Sometimes I do want to eat something delicious and be like, I'm so grateful that I had the skills to make this, that the fresh ingredients were near me, that my family enjoy, like all these
Love
things.
it. Yes.
It's just your real life.
It is real life. And, I even do it when I'm paying the bills or my taxes. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that, um, we get electricity and that they trust me to pay the bills on time and keep my electricity on. Or I'm so grateful that I have a dishwasher that does most of the work for me, even though the loading, unloading is not my favorite chore to do, but I'm grateful for it, right? So
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
work all over the place. Yeah.
Okay. This is the call to action for anyone who's listening. Go do your gratitude practice of
Yes.
choice after you
Yes.
listen to this episode, or maybe you can do it right now because you're so grateful for this conversation, which works for me too. Along the lines, this is related, I promise. This is my final thing that I just have to talk to you about is the negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Because I will just be really forthcoming and say the things that I say to myself, I would never say to my friends, to my daughters, all, people that I love. And I think that can be a big part of when we're frustrated with what's happening in our fertility. We tell ourselves a lot of stories about that. How do
Yes.
you talk to your clients about this negative self-talk? How do we reframe it so that it's more nourishing and not so hurtful?
Yeah. Well, I want to just acknowledge and normalize it, that
Yeah,
it happens and it
absolutely.
happens to all of us. And it happens to me. Again, it's a practice, always working on it, always working on it. There's a lot of unlearning to do,
Mhm.
and just holding some space, having some grace for that. But I think one of the things that could be um, really helpful is first the awareness, just being aware of, and it could sound like this, right? Because a lot of us are in our heads doing this. We don't always walk around being like, God, you're so dumb. Why did you just
Oh,
do that, right?
in the mind while we're doing other things and we're like, oh, why
Fine.
did I do
Yeah,
that?
exactly. So when you're in that space, it's just a little mini practice of like, oh, 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 there she is again, that little negative Nancy in my head. So just acknowledging, becoming more aware that you're having those thoughts. Um, you can even acknowledge it from a physical or a biological level, or depending on what's going on. Oh, that's just my amygdala like firing off again, getting creating like a fear-based situation that's not even real. So doing that, but again, like noticing the talk of how you're talking and saying, okay, in a very non-judgmental, like, oh, there she is again. Okay, let's just acknowledge that and pausing long enough to say, is this a thought that is serving me?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a thought that's really nourishing me? And I think that's, if you can do those two steps, you're like light years
Yeah,
beyond.
yeah.
And it's not about comparing people, but most people don't take the time to even pause and say,
Where is that coming from?
yeah,
Yeah.
what was that thought? And why am I thinking that? And is that really serving me? And no, it's not. So now you get the most empowered, you know, position to be in, to come from self-leadership and say, what do I want to be thinking instead? You get to change that thought. You get to choose.
You get
That's
to choose. You get to
yes.
choose.
Yes. So like, if it's like, God, I'm so dumb. Why can't I figure this out? Why is my body not working with me? Okay. That's really
Mhm.
negative. That's really judgmental. That's really bringing me down here. I don't want to be thinking that. What else could I think? And then grab a piece of paper if you need to, because these thoughts, they're all over the place, right?
Yeah, it's a little
And
chaotic
so
sometimes.
even writing it down so you can see it, so it's out of you onto paper, and then starting to flip it. And sometimes, you can't always just flip the thought, because it's tied into this, to a deeper belief and to a deeper value system. But in the moment, that's probably the quickest thing that you can do to shift it to something that's more nourishing and empowering for you, that's helping you towards your goal. And so I'm just asking, what is it that I want to think? And putting it in, I like to put it in the present tense of like, either I am or I have, because sometimes our brain can log on to that, like I have, and it's almost like it's already been done,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So, does that help?
Ah, that's
Give
super
a
helpful.
little
I'm
bit of-
thinking the I am statements are very Wayne Dyer. That's where I learned it from, the I
Yes.
am. So
Yeah,
beautiful.
very much. Yeah, I am that I am, and just replace whatever that is with an empowering, nourishing word for you. And just have that on repeat, like 2 or 3 thousand times. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's not even, considering the fact, and I don't know where the solid research is around this. I know these numbers have been tossed around, but like 76,000 thoughts a day. I mean, I could believe it.
Yeah. Yep.
Those are automatic and on repeat. And so that's okay. Pick a new thought and start dropping that in and
Yes.
see what happens as you look at and remember that flower. I love that you've got the flowers in the background. Remember that flower because see what those thoughts will literally start to shift and change your actions and your behaviors. Because if you think about it, if you were in that space of like, oh, I'm so frustrated and nothing's working out, and I'm just going to go get a Big Mac and fries and a Coke, you know?
Mhm.
And so those are the behaviors, those are the actions. And if that gets continuously repeated and solidified, and we keep doing those kind of things, we're going to have other issues that we have to deal with, you know?
Yep.
We can just go upstream and deal with the root. Yeah.
One of the ways I've been able to catch myself in the moment is by using affirmations. And
Mhm.
so I always like to end our episode with something fun. And I thought we got to talk an affirmation before you leave. I have mine. I try to write down a different one. So on my sticky note this week is I am open to opportunities for abundance that come in expected and unexpected ways.
Beautiful.
That's mine this week. So my fun closing question for you is what's your affirmation this week?
Okay, so I have a few because I write them down every day, but I wanted to share these with you. I've got these nourishing mantra cards.
Ooh, so
I'm going to read them
beautiful.
to you. So one is I deserve to feel good in my life and my
Yeah.
body. The other is I deserve to nourish myself first. Or you could
It's
say
that
that I
pyramid
am
you
in
talked
charge.
about.
Yes. Yeah. And nourishment, for my lens and the way I use that word, it's not just about food. It's how are you nourishing yourself mentally, emotionally, on your soul level, physically too, with the food that you eat, but also the things that you say to yourself and the stuff that that you're listening to and watching every single day. That's all nourishment. It's all or non-nourishment.
We say in functional medicine, you are what you eat, think, breathe, feel, and don't eliminate, right? So it's like all of these things.
Absolutely.
Well, I know that our listeners are going to want to follow along and learn more from you. Where can they find you and what are you working on?
Ooh, okay. So find me on LinkedIn, Elyse Wagner, or Instagram, Elyse
Yep.
underscore Wagner. Come say hi. You can come over to my website, check it out. I've got a bunch of freebies. Hop on my weekly well-being newsletter. I share insights and ideas. I'm going to send my newsletter over to
Yep.
Kalea and little fun story about me and my daughter this week, and Wayne Dyer. But I've got a brand new program that is going to be launching in March, and it's called A Nourished Life. And so it's 12 weeks. It's a personalized root cause program to really awaken what I'm calling the inner physician, awaken the physician within, because I do believe that we all have the answers within us. We just need to cut out the noise, learn how, and I teach a lot of these skills and tools in this program. So yeah, if you're interested in that, come on over and let me know. And
We
we'll
all
help.
need to find our inner physician, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's not to say, don't have your own physician. You need that, of course. But
Your
yeah,
inner physician is always with you. You don't have to wait for a portal message.
24/7. Yeah, 24/7, 365. You're always in charge, always. So
Elyse, it's just such a pleasure to chat with you. I love connecting. I love learning from you. It's such a inspiring conversation. Thank you for spending time with me. I want to also take a moment and thank our listeners for trusting us as a source of information. My gratitude is overflowing for our listeners and to our show's producer, Paula. Thank you so much for making my podcast dreams come true every day, every take. You're so special to me. Elyse, thank you. Can't wait to connect again.
thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening.
See you next time. Did you love this episode and want to hear more? Head over to drkaleawattles.com/podcast where you can find more episodes on all things fertility.